Welcome back to Feast at Home in my kitchen. My name is Miss Jordan and today we're going to be making steamed green beans. I love green beans. They kind of look like a smile and I can't help but smile when I see green beans. So let's get started with our recipe. Here is our recipe for steamed green beans. Let's go through our ingredients. First, we're going to need 1 pound of fresh green beans. See that looks like it should say ulb, but we refer to LB as pound. It's like the nickname or the short name for pound. All right. Then we need 1 tablespoon of olive oil or butter. See, I'm using olive oil. You could also use butter if you really love butter, but I'm using olive oil because it's a little healthier. Then you're going to need 1 to 2 cups of water. That dash is read as between 1 and 2 cups of water. Then we need 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and the juice from half of a lemon. Let's go through our directions really fast.
First, we're going to rinse the green beans in a colander. That's the bowl with holes in it that I held the green beans up in. See? It looks like this. It has holes to let water through. Your colander might look different than mine, but that's the basic idea. Then we're going to snap off the ends of each pod. A green bean is a pod. So when you see pod, that's what that means. It's a pod with seeds in it. Add water and green beans to a pot and bring to a boil on high heat. Number 4, cook for about 5 minutes or until tender. Number 5, pour beans into a colander to drain the water, then put them back into the pan. Number 6, stir in oil or butter, salt, pepper, and lemon juice. Number 7, serve and enjoy! Alright, that seems pretty easy. Let's get to it! Before you start cooking, wash your hands. Before you start cooking, wash your hands. Rub the soap in between your fingers so they're clean. Before you start cooking, wash your hands. Before you start cooking, wash your veggies. Before you start cooking, wash your veggies. Make sure you scrub them all really well before you start cooking. Wash your veggies.
All right, snapping green beans is super easy and you don't need anything but your fingers to do it. So see these ends on the green beans? This little part is where it was connected to the plant, and this is the part where, fun fact, the flower that formed on the plant before the bean formed, that's where the flower was. The bean just kind of came out from behind it. So that's called the blossom end, and this is called the stem end. We're going to carefully snap the ends off like that. You don't want to snap a lot. You want just a little bit. And then we're going to take our green beans, and you can either keep them whole or you can snap them in half if you want them small. So we're going to have a little like assembly line going.
Snap, compost, snap, compost, snap, pull. Snap, compost, snap, pull. Snap, snap, snap to my loo, snap, snap, snap to my loo, snap, snap, snap to my loo, snap your green beans in two. Snap, snap, snap to the loo, snap, snap, snap to my loo, snap, snap, snap to my loo, snap those green beans in two. I got a dog whose name is Green, I got a dog whose name is Green. My dog Green likes to roam, one day Green left his home. He came back quite unclean, where has Green been? Do, 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 do. My dog Green likes to roam, one day Green left his home. He came back quite unclean, where has Green been? Where has Green been?
Fun fact, the beans inside of these pods, though being tiny right now, will grow to be much bigger, and they will become the seeds for future green beans. Green beans are native to North America, in fact. They were grown by the first people who lived here. We call those people indigenous or Native American people. And they call themselves a lot of other names, like the people who are native or indigenous to where we are right now in Asheville, North Carolina. They are called the Cherokee people. And there are other people who were native to here. There were the Catawba people as well. Those people lived here before any of the people from Europe came, and they grew beans and they grew corn and they grew squash and lots of other things. But those three were called their three sisters because they grew them together, and they were the three most important crops to those people. They grew them together because those crops help each other. All right, here we are coming to the last of our beans. Hear that pop and snap sound? It's like Rice Krispies. All right, we're all done. Next up, we're gonna boil these green beans in a pan of water. So let's head over to the stove. Here we are at the stove. I've got a saucepan here, and I've got my 2 cups of water. I'm not gonna pour all the water in at once though. I'm gonna pour half of it in and see if it's the amount that I need. So, I don't need that much water. I really just need enough to cover the bottom of the pan. So do you see how there's about an inch of water in there? That's plenty. Next, I'm going to get my bowl of green beans and I'm going to carefully pour them in. See how the green beans stick up above the water? That's what I'm going for. Some people have special baskets that go in their pans to hold the beans above the water, called a steamer basket. But you don't need that. You can do it just like this. Before we turn on the stove, remember you need a grown-up nearby to supervise and make sure that everything goes safely. You also need to be safe. Remember that the entire stove and everything on it is going to be hot. So use an oven mitt whenever you touch anything, and don't touch the hot parts of the stove. All right, let's turn the heat on to high. We're gonna do that because you need maximum heat to boil the water. Then I'm going to put a lid on top to trap all the steam that's gonna come out of the water. Remember, we talked about that last time. When water is boiled, when it reaches its boiling temperature, it turns into a gas. It turns from a liquid into a gas, and the gas is called steam, and the steam is going to help cook our green beans. So we want to keep it inside the pot. I'm going to keep an eye on this pot so that it doesn't boil too long. We'll check on it in 5 minutes. Let's check our green beans. I'm going to use an oven mitt because remember that steam stuff we talked about? It's hot and I don't want to burn my hand. All right, release the steam. Let's pick out a green bean and see if it's soft. It's soft enough because the fork went all the way through it really easily. See? You don't want them to be too soft or they'll get mushy. These are just right, and they're still bright green. I'm gonna turn off the heat and I'm going to take them over to the sink and pour the water through the colander that I used to rinse them. Ooh, look at all that steam. They all came out. Now I'm going to make sure all the water came off. I'm going to pour them back in the pot. Very slowly so I don't lose any green beans. Let's go over to the recipe and see what's next. The recipe calls for the juice from half of a lemon. So I'm going to show you how to carefully cut a lemon. I'm using a knife that has teeth. It's called a serrated knife. You could also just use a paring knife like we did last week for our carrots. If you don't feel comfortable using a knife, ask a grown-up to do this part for you. Or you can use lemon juice that's in a bottle. I like fresh lemon juice though. So I'm going to use the claw to hold my lemon. My fingers are going to be straight up and down so that the knife just goes right next to them and doesn't cut them. I'm going to go back and forth while pushing down until it's cut. I have put a hot pad underneath of my pan because this pan was really hot when it was on the stove and I don't want to hurt my countertop, so I put a hot pad under it. Always protect your surfaces from your hot things. I'm going to squeeze the lemon juice in a cup because there's always seeds that you miss, and it's easier to scoop them out of a cup than your dish that you're making. So I'm going to squeeze all the juice out, and then I'm going to use a spoon to scoop out the seeds. Scoop. I will compost these seeds. All right, so here I have my lemon juice. Pour it on my green beans. Next, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of olive oil. A tablespoon is nicknamed TBSP, and it is bigger than a teaspoon. All right, fill it all the way up. Drizzle it on. Wipe off your spoon. Okay, next, my recipe calls for 1/4 teaspoon of salt and pepper. I know in my kitchen brain that means I can just shake a small amount. 1/4 of a teaspoon is such a tiny amount that I can just sprinkle. My cat is really excited about these green beans. She has come to visit. See, there's Misha. Say hi. She's my assistant. Okay, so now we're gonna stir the green beans. I'm gonna use my favorite tongs, but you know, a fork would do as well, or a spoon. You don't really need anything fancy. I just really love using my tongs. Make sure everything is evenly coated. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Now is my favorite part, getting to eat what I have made. I've got a little bowl of my green beans. See how they taste. Yum! They're so good! I love that they're salty and lemony and not too oily or peppery. I like a moderate amount of all of those flavors. And remember, you can make these your own. Make them taste good to you. If you don't like the lemon juice, leave it out. If you want more lemon juice, or you want butter, or to put a little bit of feta cheese on top, go for it. Make them taste good to you. And these make a really great side dish for a meal. So you can put them on the side of something else that someone has made for dinner. Thank you for joining me for Feast at Home. I'm Miss Jordan, and I will see you next week.